Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's July 5th. Hope you had a good 4th of July out there. And today we're going to take a look at the heat wave coming up. It is already in place here, and this is the big ridge along the west coast of North America. We put that into motion. You can see this storm is not making any headway off to the east here. So this is a slow moving ridge here. We're going to have some prolonged heat here across the region. Some records are going to fall. And as we scroll through the day yesterday, you can see the grays come up and across the area, showing the heating of the landmass with the afternoon sun. And then as we go through the overnight hours, you see that cool back down across the desert southwest. And then we start to go in towards this morning, and you can see things heating up already as we go. And if I scroll back and forth here, you can kind of see that clockwise rotation here with a counterclockwise low pressure system out over the Pacific Ocean here. So yeah, slow moving ridge, thermal trough creeping up the coastline here, a bit of an offshore flow for much of the areas west of the Cascades here. And that's why we're going to warm up so much. We're going to dive into those details as we go through the video here today. And this is why a lot of people have some issues with fireworks out there. You can see the nasty air quality that we've kind of unleashed upon ourselves here across the region with this, you can see it kind of mainly Seattle south across Tacoma and Olympia here, and off some places to the southeast of Tacoma as well. So yeah, that is the result of that firework activity there yesterday. We do have the fire weather watch here. This was issued yesterday, but it's still going to continue on through Sunday evening. And this is for the Cascades here of Washington. And yeah, interesting stuff there. If you're up there camping and whatnot, and you're thinking about letting off any fireworks, you might want to think twice about that here. Conditions are ripe for fire development. Taking a look at Portland National Weather Service here. So look at this, potentially 5 straight days of 100-degree plus temperatures coming in here starting today for Portland and for Salem. Look at Hood River as well. Eugene, pretty darn right close. Here's Battleground, some mid and upper 90s here as we go through Tuesday. Also pretty warm even off to the coastline here. Some nice days coming up there for Astoria, Oregon, and for Newport, Oregon on the coast. Long heat wave duration coming up here. Spokane National Weather Service calling attention to it. You can see we really start to get warm here as we get towards the Tuesday and Wednesday time frame. Look at Lewiston perhaps topping out at 109. Look at Chelan at 108 here. Omak hitting 106. Moses Lake 108. And Spokane looks like maybe 3 or 4 days 100 degrees plus. Increasing fire danger is going to be a concern as well. Now we do have the red flag warning. This goes through today, the afternoon to the evening hours. Wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. There are some fires burning out. There's some grass fires I've seen. And I saw on the GOES 18 satellite imagery yesterday there was a fire there off across northern portions of Lake Chelan here. So the low relative humidities and the gusty winds and the warm temperatures here are going to be the hazard here. And this was issued this morning here by the National Weather Service Spokane. And Medford likes to remind everybody that over 600 people a year are killed from heat. So, and this mainly happens to the most susceptible people, like, some young children, sometimes it happens to, and elderly people here. So people you might not quite think are having an issue with the heat, like some of your older neighbors may be having these issues with the heat. So, go ahead and check on them if you can, but just, keep that in the back of your mind. And take a look at thunderstorm activity. This is for today, mainly off across portions of western Montana and east. We're not looking at thunderstorm development here across Washington, Oregon, or western BC for today, and this is for tomorrow as well. Now, taking a look at CTAC, 83 yesterday, and the Europeans been underdoing a lot of these, and that's kind of something that's known about the European models, underdoing some of these highs. It was calling for 77 yesterday in some of the models I was showing here. So 83 yesterday, that's 8 degrees above average, and we're probably headed towards the upper 80s here for Seattle today. So we're ramping up the heat coming up here, and we do have the outside chance of breaking some of these record highs as we come up here, especially on and through Sunday. We have an outside chance of breaking that. The all-time record high for Sunday, July 7th, is 90 degrees. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station to go ahead and record those temperatures at your house, or see if there's a lightning storm or a thunderstorm nearby here, and if you want to check your individual parameters and it builds graphs for you, stores all the data for you in the cloud, a very handy weather station. You can just glance at your smartphone. It has a little widget in the top left, tells you the thermometer and how hot it is or how cold it is outside, and a nice attractive unit there. It's got solar panels, ultrasonic anemometer, tells you when it starts raining at your house. So click on that link down below if you want to save 10% off on that. Taking a look at the European artificial intelligence model here. So we're looking at the Pacific Northwest, and this is mean sea level pressure, and the anomaly here, when you start to get the yellows and oranges and reds here, that is the above average high pressure, and the below normal pressure here is out over the Pacific Ocean. So we're going to roll this into motion here, and you see this little feature, this very subtle feature creeping up the coastline here. That is what's known as the thermal trough, and it's a classic sign, a classic signature of our heat waves here across across the Pacific Northwest. So you can kind of imagine we have this little bit of an offshore flow. So I'm going to show you here in a moment, but you can see this thermal trough hanging all the way on in through Tuesday here, right over western portions of Washington, BC, and Oregon. It is a very subtle feature, so it's hard to detect here. So you really need the anomaly maps to kind of show that. But then you can see it shifts to the west here, off to the east actually of the Cascades as we go on in through later portions of the week. So this could kick some onshore flow and start to cool us down a bit. You can see the higher pressure starting to be out here over the Pacific Ocean. Of course, air wants to flow from high to low, so we're going to kick a little bit of an onshore flow that will at least cool us down a little bit, it looks like here, but we'll continue to watch that day by day, of course. Now this is as of last night. If I put this into motion, you can kind of see that offshore component here occurring across Washington, some portions of southwest Washington, especially in Oregon. A little bit of onshore flow across some of British Columbia still ongoing, but that is that mark of that thermal trough here. It's going to be trying to creep up the coastline. And if I continue to put that into motion, you can kind of see the cat and mouse game. We get a little bit of onshore flow here mixed up with some of this northerly flow and a little bit of offshore flow as we scroll all the way on through Tuesday. And then we start to bring that high pressure back off the coastline and we kick some of these westerlies here across some eastern portions as we go on into the later portion of the week coming up here, but no promises on that just yet. We'll continue to monitor. Now, taking a look at 5,000 feet, 850 millibars, this really gives you a nice visual diagram of what is going on above us. Put this into motion. Again, that thermal trough helping to warm things up aloft across the region here, and we're going to remain warm all the way on in through the early portion of next week. And you can kind of see the ridge out here, but we may start to get some onshore flow again as we go on into the later portion of next week. Taking a look at the European wider view of things here, and you can see this is North America. There's Alaska, there's BC, Washington, California, and this would be actually a hurricane or a tropical storm Beryl. I'm not sure how much it's been weakened right now, but it's moving across the Yucatan Peninsula as we speak. But anyway, this is our big weather maker here. You can see this ridge extending all the way up into the Gulf of Alaska. It's keeping us nice and warm and dry here across Pacific Northwest. Downright hot. Some records will be falling. And now I'm scrolling on in through Sunday afternoon, and you can clearly see this ridge is still well developed up into southwest or southeast Alaska and across British Columbia, including southwest British Columbia, and then finally starts to shift to the easter as we go on into the mid portion of the week here. So that's what could kick some onshore flow and start to cool us down at least a little bit. And we scroll off into the future a little bit more here, and then you can see the big ridge axis here across some of the Intermountain West and the Four Corners region. That usually brings us a little bit more onshore flow. And then you can see the development of some kind of troughing here as we go way off into the extended forecast. And this is about June 14th there, but don't get too caught up in that just yet. Don't get your hopes up just yet. So taking a look at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. And today, again, the European underdoing this, no doubt. We're probably headed towards the upper 80s here. And then we're going to be dealing with some 90-degree days here, maybe even 3+ days for 90-degree days here for Seattle SeaTac Airport as we go on in through Tuesday. And right now, some of the models are showing actually Tuesday being the hottest day, but definitely some very warm days coming up here. Now, taking a look at the National Blended models, what it's calling for, you see it says 87 today. It's probably going to be pretty close to what actually occurs. A little bit warmer tomorrow, and then ramping it up Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, maybe the warmest day at 94, and some pretty warm overnight lows. It's going to be tough to cool down, especially in some of the metropolitan areas there with some of the cement out there. It likes to trap heat during the daytime, so keep that in the back of your mind as well. Look at the GFS likes to flaunt some of these temperatures here, and it actually called for 82 yesterday. So we hit 83. So again, 88 might not be far off. Do we have a chance to hit 90 today? Maybe not, but Saturday, definitely a better chance. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Look at the GFS continues with some of these ridiculous temperatures. I don't think we're headed for 102 on Tuesday, but you know, we'll be watching it just in case we do. And you can see the GFS ones, they keep things pretty darn right warm here all the way on in through next week. And we'll see, you know, we'll break that down day by day. Then you see some cooling effects as we go on into the mid portion here. And this is the GFS one more time. This is the ensemble mean here. So this is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, calling for 3 very warm days coming up, with maybe Saturday hitting 90 also, and perhaps even Wednesday. But you know, that onshore flow usually starts to kick on here. We usually don't hit 90 degrees again. So we'll see how that goes. Looking at Seattle-Tacoma, this was a big hit with a lot of people here. I saw in some of the comments, and I heard it from some people as well, that they like the cross section here. This is 10,000 feet at the top of this diagram, and this would be the surface. And you can see the afternoon highs. This would be for today. There's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the warmest day there. It's like these little blow torches there showing that afternoon heating. And then you can see that gradual cool down as we go on into the end of next week. And this would be Eugene. You can see again the blowtorch look at that with the afternoon temperatures really ramp it up as we go through Tuesday, then somewhat of a cool down after that. Portland, something similar here as well. Perhaps again 5 straight days of 100 degrees plus for Portland coming up here. That would tie like one of the all-time greatest heat waves here for Portland, at least in duration. So yeah, potentially historic there, as the National Weather Service Portland, Oregon mentions. This is the GFS. You can see the model has been in pretty good agreement. They've been doing this warm spell here for some time, all the way on in towards late June, and you can see the models have not been backing off on that heat, maybe a little bit here, but and it's actually been prolonging it in some cases as well, especially with the Europeans. So yeah, warm temperatures incoming, and this is that wet bulb globe temperature here. And look at Portland for Monday and Tuesday, approaching extreme values out there, and these high values is going to feel very warm out there across the Portland metro area. And if you want to go ahead and Google this, check out that wet bulb globe temperature here, and you can see you've got different classifications based on where you live. So interesting stuff if you want to look at that. Bend, Oregon, also you're talking about maybe 5+ days with 100-degree temperatures there in eastern Oregon. Bellingham, Washington, there's going to be some pretty decent dew points out there, so it's going to feel quite muggy, even though the temperatures are probably going to be somewhere here into the low 80s for some of these days, but it is still very warm, and it's well above average here for this time of year. You can see the average temperature for Bellingham is about 67 degrees. And you can see actually getting into some moderate territory here as we go through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday on the wet bulb globe temperature here for Bellingham, Washington. 6 to 10 day, and this should be no surprise. Been watching the channel the last few days. The above average signal there, the below average signal here for precipitation, and we don't get much for this time of year. So basically, the Climate Prediction Center is telling us don't expect precipitation here across a lot of the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through the mid portion of July. And we do have some pretty intense fire danger that's going to be out there, and you can see we really start to ramp things up today. Let's see if this has been updated. It usually gets updated right about this time here. We're still dealing with yesterday's, but you can see the red is no good here. You're talking about high risk out there, and again across some of southwest Oregon. NW7, there's NW11, which include the Blue Mountains as well, and you don't want to be messing around when you're dealing with elevated here also. So any of the browns you see in your locations, NW1 and NW2 are Seattle and Portland, Bellingham out there. And yeah, once we get into next week here, we could be dealing with some of that elevated fire risk here for even western Washington, western Oregon, and again, eastern portions here, you could be looking at some high risk at times. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are in position to be able to enjoy this heat wave. I know a lot of people are not always able to do that, especially again, the elderly population that live in and around you. Sometimes you think they might be okay, but it might be worth checking on them here, especially once the heat wave gets going on, especially in the Portland metro area where things are going to be very hot here as we go through the next 5 days starting today. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, click like and subscribe. It's free to subscribe. I know that as far as YouTube channels go, this one does very well as far as the amount of viewers who are subscribed, but we could still do a little bit better here. It helps get the word out, and it really helps the channel if you can click that subscribe button. So anyway, I hope you guys are going to have a good day otherwise, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. We'll break this all down again.